Hey, good Monday to you. Trust that this is going to be a great week. We just kind of believe that by faith, that even when times don't come together the way we want them to, circumstances don't kind of gel as we maybe have hoped or planned, one of the confidences that we kind of almost repetitiously have to come back to is saying that, God is in control. He is on the throne, and he really is my protector, and that he's not going to allow anything to touch my life that he doesn't want to touch my life. And that's why when we go through difficult times, we should look at those hardships with a lens of saying, God, what is it that I'm supposed to derive from this moment that I'm going through right now? And I know that sounds really difficult when you're in the midst of that, but all I can say is my experience, and I would say from everybody else I know, that when you take that approach to ugly things that go on in our lives, and they happen to us all, it really does transform them into redemptive moments instead of feeling like we've fallen behind and lost something. I think that's something we all get frightened about, that life is short and you only live once. We say these kinds of things. And what we're implying is that I better be squeezing every ounce of juice I can out of the moments that I'm in right now because I won't get to relive them. And that can be really unhealthy actually to have that point of view, because what it does is it causes you to be driven towards trying to maximize your sensory perceptions of whatever happens. And I don't mean just pleasures, but the idea that I got to make everything count. I was tormented by that as a young man because I grew up in a very, both my parents were workaholics, and they taught me to work at an early age. My first job I ever had was at 12 years of age. And I just, learned to work hard. I've always been a hard worker. My mailman, in fact, came by, saw me doing some projects in my front yard, and he just looked at me and said, "You're the hardest working guy in this entire neighborhood." So I just thought, I guess, whatever you say. But I found that although all that's a virtue, if you hire somebody, you want them to work hard so that they can, justify the expense that you incur in hiring them. But on the other hand, do we ever learn how to really just kind of relax and to really kind of allow Sabbath into our life? That's a critical dynamic. When the Lord talks about keeping the Sabbath, he's, some people look at it and take it quite literally in the Old Testament sense. I kind of don't see it that way, because one of the things that the Lord said in Exodus 32, he said that the Sabbath was a covenant between him and Israel. In other words, the observance of one day a week that they didn't work and do anything else. And today, if you go to Israel, you'll find that the Orthodox Jews follow that to the extreme. I mean, for them, they won't even turn a light on, or if the TV's on, they won't turn the TV off, because the electric circuit is in their mind the same as kindling a fire. And it says you're not supposed to kindle a fire on the Sabbath day, the idea in order to cook your meals. So it can become quite restrictive. And it's funny, when you're in the hotels, you'll find the doors to rooms open, and they'll have these Arab busboys walking down through the hallways, and they'll look in the room and say, "Would you like me to turn your TV off or turn your lights off?" And they'd say, "Yes." And then they'll let the Gentile turn it off so that they don't have to violate the Sabbath. Well, I think most of us are pretty sure that's not what God meant. But at the same time, as we come off a weekend, many of us play harder during the weekend than we do during the week. And I remember when my kids were small in particular, I'd come home from vacation and I needed a vacation from my vacation because my kids had just completely worn me out. And, that's when my wife began to really question, what's the wisdom of this? I'll tell you what our secret was. We took vacations at our parents' homes and let our parents delight in their grandkids so that we could get a break. And I'm just saying that we need rest. We're not designed to go 24/7. It's the same way that if you have a vehicle and you never drive it, it's not going to do any good. It's going to begin to break down just because it's sitting there, not doing what it's designed for. It's meant to pump that oil and gasoline and stuff through the system. But on the other hand, if you run it at 10,000 RPMs, you're going to find that you're going to blow a piston. That's just simple reality. So there's a balancing act that we have to maintain in life. And God created an amazing prescription. He says, you need a day of rest. You need one day of the week where you stop doing what you normally do and you just let your body relax. And I think that it's a great time to spend in the Word, spend in edifying and encouraging conversation. So that, and I know I say this to those of you who are moms and dads with small kids, that you would agree, but you think, how in the world can I do that? I would suggest coming up with some creative ideas with other families and see if you can do kind of a sharing of each other's, watching of each other's kids, just to give yourselves at least 4 or 5, 6 hours where you can just relax and be at peace. If you can afford to hire a babysitter, that's even better. Excuse me, but I know that many people can't, so I don't want to be insensitive. But you're going to find that a lot of people would love to be able to share that time and experience that break from the busyness. And if you're a friend or a grandparent or something like that, really be mindful that to become available to help out your family with these small kids, that you provide for them a little break and interruption from the schedule, because they just need time to hang out and relax. To this day, my wife and I's favorite thing is we just love to go someplace. Usually we'll go someplace with a happy hour where we can get the hors d'oeuvres and the small plates for half price or at a discount. And but just for us, the two of us, to be together, because we learned early on in our relationship, unless we had those kind of times where we had a break from all of the pressures, where we not talk about work, we not talk about the kids or anything like that, we just talk about fun stuff. We just talk about where we would just talk about where do we want to be in a year from now? What do we envision our life would look like? What are some goals that we could work together and agree on? And you're amazed, because it's that hopefulness that really strengthens you when you're going through difficult times. And that's one thing I would say, that as a father, a grandfather, and hopefully one of these days to be a great grandfather, you realize that these years, even though they seem unending when the kids are small, they go by rather quickly, actually. And one day you look back and you miss that. Because with our kids, they live all over the country. It's quite an effort to make those connections. And so I don't want to go back and raise young kids again, but I want to be really available to be a grandpa and to give that break to my kids, so they can find some Sabbath time in their life as well. So see you tomorrow. We'll talk about some other things. God bless you.